welcome to the final session of Unit 2. And in this session, we'll be looking at the lesson plan. Patrick Ej is my name. Now, by the end of this session, you should be able to list the components of a lesson plan, explain the components of a lesson plan, write lesson plans for physics teaching, and state the advantages and limitations of writing a lesson plan. So, what is the purpose of a lesson plan? And we know every effective teacher makes use of a lesson plan in one form or another because it serves as a guide for the teacher's actions in the classroom. So it is what the teacher is going to follow during the teaching learning process in the classroom. And because of that, it should be flexible and it should be modified when necessary. So as a teacher, you plan to teach resolution of vectors. But when you started, you observed that your learners' knowledge based on basic trig ratios was very low, which made it difficult for them to understand the resolution of vectors you want to teach. Now, because the lesson plan is flexible, the best thing to do is to pause, teach the basic trig ratios for students to understand before you now proceed to your resolution of vectors. And the lesson plan should be unobstructive but available for reference. So as a teacher, the lesson plan shouldn't be obstructing the teaching that you are doing. It is only available to you for reference. So at a point in time, maybe once in a while, you can just go to the lesson plan to look at what you are supposed to do. But it shouldn't be just that at every point in time you are consulting it. Now note that continuously consulting your lesson plan is an indication that you have not prepared well for the lesson that you are coming to teach. So we must take note of that. What are the elements of a lesson plan? So every lesson plan has a topic. So it must have a topic that you are going to teach as well as the subtopics. It must also have the relevant previous knowledge. So students' knowledge, their prior knowledge to what you are about to teach. Understand that students have been taught some concepts that are already related to what you are coming to teach. They have interacted with objects. All these are relevant knowledge that will be necessary. As a teacher, you must state them in your plan. And the advanced preparation. So in the advanced preparation stage, advanced to do the thing before. So in the advanced preparation stage, you take time to collect the various materials that you think you will need during the teaching learning process. So for instance, you can, if you want to, let's say, teach reflection of light, you can collect rectangular glass prisms, you can collect a light source. If you need a board pointer, you can take it. If you need a duster, you need a whiteboard marker. All these are materials that you will need, and you have to make them ready before the lesson begins. And the duration. So what is the duration of the lesson? Is it 1 hour or 60 minutes? Is it 2 hours or 120 minutes? You must state it. Then having stated the duration, in which time of the day? So is it from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.? Is it between 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.? You must also state the time. And you must state the teaching learning resources. So you are going to teach a concept. The teaching learning resources, so the various textbooks that you use, the tangible objects that you use in the classrooms, they must all be stated and how they will be used, especially when it comes to the tangible objects like charts, videos. You have stated this. You must state how all these will be used and when they are going to be used. The next element of the lesson plan is what we call the stage. And under the stage, you must have the content item as well as the estimated time. And we have 4 stages in a lesson. And these stages are the introduction, the development, application, and closure. Now note that the concept that is taught at each stage is termed as the content item. So we have the stage. So every concept that is taught at every stage is called the content item. And so at each stage or step, the estimated time must be stated there. So for instance, you are teaching 10 minutes, you must state it there. Then we come to the introduction. So it is at this stage that you now make students ready for the lesson. You review their previous knowledge on the concept that you are about to teach. Then we come to the content development. So at the content development stage, this is the main stage where the concept is being taught. And the content development can now be in steps depending on the number of objectives that you have stated. And the application stage. So here, you try to now relate the concept that has been taught to real life situations. So for instance, if you are teaching friction, the various applications, the laws of friction can be stated here, as well as some calculations involving friction. They can all be stated at the application stage. The closure. So at the closure stage, you now do a review and summary of the lesson. So you highlight the major points that were raised in the lesson. Then we come to the teaching learning strategy. So the teaching learning strategy talks about the various activities that took place during the teaching learning process. And this teaching learning strategy comes in the form of teacher activity and the student activity. So for instance, the teacher asks students to define this. What did the students, or what were the students doing at that time? So the teacher activity must be stated and the student activity must also be stated. And the major ideas, and these are major ideas, or sometimes we call it the core points. So the major definitions, it can be definitions, it can be the relevant points in the lesson that you would want your learners to copy in their notes so that they can use it as a reference anytime they are learning. And assignments. So these assignments can be out of class assignments like homework, and sometimes it can be on what you just taught, or it can be on the next topic. And you must provide reference. So anytime you give assignment, it is good you give the students a reference material that they can find the assignment questions, answers to the assignment questions. And you must also state the reference materials that you used in preparing your lesson plan. And the final stage, we have the remarks. And here is where you state whether the lesson has been taught successfully, or maybe due to one or two reasons the lesson has not been taught and so it has to be revisited. All these are stated at the remarks column. What are the advantages of a lesson plan to a teacher? So it serves as a guide to the teacher's action in the classroom. So you have a guide which gives you a sense of direction in the classroom. It also creates confidence in the teacher, since the teacher can always make a quick reference to it when necessary. So because it is a guide to you, anytime you find it necessary, you can just make reference to it. And that also boosts your confidence. And it helps the teacher to gather appropriate teaching learning resource for the lesson. And it helps the teacher to know the kind of questions to ask in the course of the lesson. So at the introductory stage, what are the questions I must ask? When I start the content development, what are the activities that will take place? The lesson plan will help you to do that. And it helps the teacher to know the topic to be taught and then master it before going to the classroom. And it also helps the teacher to know the sequence of instruction. So which one first? Which topic must be treated before the other? So it gives you that sequence of events in the classroom. What are the limitations of a lesson plan? And it is time consuming to write. You must understand that it is time consuming. But when you take the time to do it, it is very helpful. So one limitation is that it is time consuming and it can make some teachers inflexible. So for some teachers, once that is the plan that they have written and they have decided to follow in the class, they become so rigid that they don't want to even change or make any modification during the teaching learning process. Now students, in this lesson, you learned about what a lesson plan is. You look at the elements of the lesson plan and how you as a teacher, you can write a lesson plan. Now as we bring the lesson to an end, stay to advanced preparations that you as a physics teacher, you should make for teaching the topic refraction of light through learning.